Sumo, Japan's ancient sacred sport of technique and tradition, an art that takes a lifetime to master. Hello, I'm George, and I entered the sumo competition with absolutely zero experience. Here's how it went. We started off with a 4:30 AM wake up on a Saturday, which should have been the first warning sign. I didn't even know there were 2 4 o'clocks in a day. I'd not been up that early in my life. So I started the day with the breakfast of champions, 1 energy drink, 2 protein bars, and no regrets so far. It'd be unfair to say I've got zero experience in combat sports. I've done some combat sports before. I've been doing karate on and off for 24 years. Wing Chun for 7 years, and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu for about 6 months.
Why are you gay?
But I've done nothing in the sumo world for this tournament outside of 45 minutes at a seminar. I've not learned much in the 20 minutes of training, except that the way you win is by pushing your opponent out of the circle, which is called doyo, or getting some part of the body that isn't the foot to touch the floor. It was always going to be difficult to train because I didn't have access to an instructor or indeed a doyo, but what I did have was an Adam. I set up a ring at the Kung Fu club I train at, and Adam spent about half an hour shark tanking me, and he's a weight class above me, so that went exactly how you'd think it would. But it did work out for me a few times. Although I think the last one was illegal. So then we drove to the humorously named Penistone. So I entered in the lightweight division, but in a moment of wild ambition or sleep-deprived stupidity, I also decided I'd enter in middleweight, which is where the shark tank with Adam and the gang became useful. I bought this book about 2 weeks before the tournament, which is where I learned how to do things like chiri chozu, which is like the pre-fight ritual that you do before each match. And a couple of exercises, but quickly it occurred to me that there are many different ways to win, and I was never going to learn all of them in the 2 weeks that I had. There was only one way I was going to get through all of this in time, which of course was a Rocky montage. I crammed in what sumo I could, learnt the rules, practiced the stance, tried not to get launched too much, and success was mixed. So we're 1 match in and I'm undefeated so far. Technically this is going really well. The training all worked perfectly. Until it didn't. 2 losses followed, but I managed to place 4th overall in lightweight, which isn't bad for someone who learned sumo from a YouTube comment section 14 days earlier. At this point I want to say, although I talk about this very flippantly and in a light-hearted way, the people that take this seriously do some really hard work, and it shows. Every one of them deserve the medals. I don't have much footage from the heavyweight division, but I do have some, and I don't want to put a lot of it in here that doesn't contain me because I don't know any of these people, but this is what it looked like. So now we've gone through the serious bit. This is how middleweight went for me. So this is the middleweight division. The lads weren't just heavier, they were seasoned, strong, and in one case very traditional. total of 2 seconds and was out the ring. It felt like fighting a bull, except the bull was an almost naked man. My next opponent I knew nothing about, but he was also in lightweight and we never got to meet. Watching all of his previous fights, he had to be some kind of judoka because the throws were too clean for him not to be. So I had to expect balance, grip and the kind of hip throws that I'd normally tap out from. And that was it, my middleweight journey was over. Eliminated but weirdly energised. So what did I learn? Sumo's about a lot more than being big and strong. You also have to have the right mindset, explosive power and a good sense of timing. And it probably helps if you can eat 3 times your body weight. I was in the lightweight category and I was 10 kilograms below the threshold for middleweight. And that definitely showed in performances. I also want to just give a quick thank you to Dean, who also got up at 4 in the morning to take me there. He was also at Doncaster, as you can see in the picture, and he's a little bit camera shy, but maybe next time I'll convince him to join the tournament. He was in my corner for the whole thing, and most of the footage that you've seen was recorded by him. Would I do it again? Honestly, yeah, I had a lot of fun, but next time maybe I'd start with more protein bars and false confidence, and maybe a little bit of training. If you enjoyed watching me throw myself into the ring full of sumo veterans like a sweaty little bowling pin, then let me know and maybe I'll try some other combat sports I'm not ready for.